is the Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer, Sir Mel Stride. Sir Mel, I cannot believe what I am reading in the Sunday Express, which has interviewed you. Now, this is a question that you've resisted answering me for many, many shows. And listen to yourself now in this newspaper. Rachel Reeves should resign if Wednesday's budget results in more people paying more tax, according to the man who wants to hold her job. You've said, and I quote, "I think if she puts taxes up in this budget, having said that she wouldn't, and given the mess she has created, she should step down." Finally, you've had an epiphany, Mel Stride.
Right, imagine being the Chancellor of the Exchequer at the exact moment the entire country decides you are absolutely rubbish at your job. Imagine standing on the edge of delivering a massive tax-raising budget while 76% of voters think you cannot manage the economy. This is the absolute catastrophe unfolding around Rachel Reeves right now, and it is getting worse by the day. Even Labour voters are jumping ship. Even people who voted for this government barely a year ago are saying they would rather have a Conservative Chancellor back in charge. This is not just bad polling. This is a complete collapse of confidence. Stay with British royal family, because what is happening in Westminster is absolutely extraordinary. Quick favour, if you are loving this political chaos, smash that subscribe button right now. Over 92% of you have not yet. It is completely free, takes 1 second, and genuinely means everything to us. Cheers if you did. Right, let us dive into this absolute disaster. So here is what we are dealing with. Brand new polling from More in Common has just dropped, and the numbers are absolutely devastating for Rachel Reeves. 3/4 of voters, 76%, have little or no confidence in the Chancellor's ability to manage the economy. That is not a bad number. That is a catastrophic number. That is worse than most Chancellors at their lowest moments during recessions. But here is the truly damning part. Even among people who voted Labour in last year's general election, nearly half, 48%, say they lack confidence in the Chancellor. Think about that for a moment. Your own voters do not believe you can do your job, but it gets worse, much worse. The polling found that voters would actually prefer to bring back the last Conservative government, despite the absolute chaos of its final few years. They would rather have the Tories back than have Rachel Reeves continue as Chancellor. 68% of voters think former Chancellor Rishi Sunak, who later became Prime Minister, would be a better Chancellor than Rachel Reeves. 68%, that is extraordinary when you consider that Sunak was part of a government that was in complete freefall. People would rather have him back than have Rachel Reeves. And it is not just Sunak. 65% said that former Tory Chancellor Jeremy Hunt would be a better Chancellor than Reeves. Jeremy Hunt, the man who was trying to fix a broken Conservative Party. People think he would do better than Rachel Reeves. On top of that, 63% say Rishi Sunak would make a better Prime Minister than Sir Keir Starmer. And get this, that includes 27% of Labour voters. Labour voters are looking at their own Prime Minister and saying, actually, I would prefer the Conservative Prime Minister we just got rid of. That is how catastrophic this situation is. This polling was conducted as Reeves prepares to deliver a major budget packed with tax rises. She is walking into Parliament with absolutely no public confidence whatsoever. The public has already made up its mind that she is not up to the job, and she is about to make it worse with policies that are going to make people's lives even more difficult. The timing could not possibly be worse, but here is what is particularly interesting. The polling also found some sympathy for the Chancellor. Voters recognise that she faces genuinely difficult choices given the absolutely dire state of the economy. The More in Common report noted that 4 years since the term cost of living crisis entered everyday vocabulary, inflation has subdued and the pandemic is further behind us. But for the public, it remains front of mind and continues to shape their daily life. They are still struggling despite inflation coming down. Despite things supposedly getting better, people are still cutting corners just to survive. Listen to these numbers. 47% of people say they are cutting down on luxuries to cope with the cost of living. They are going without non-essentials because they cannot afford them. 43% are going out less to restaurants, pubs and the cinema. They are avoiding social experiences because they are trying to save money. But here is the truly worrying statistic. 39%, nearly 4 in 10, are cutting down on electricity or heating. They are literally freezing in their own homes to save money. They are choosing between heating and eating. And more than a fifth, 22%, have gone into debt or borrowed from friends and family members just to get by. And voters are pessimistic about the future. 57% say they are unsure whether the cost of living crisis will ever end. They are not hopeful that things will get better. They think this might be their life now, that this might be permanent, that this is just the new reality they have to accept. That is genuinely depressing when you think about it. More than half the country has given up hope that things will ever improve. Growth remains the government's #1 priority, according to Downing Street, but the Office for Budget Responsibility has downgraded its forecasts. That means the government is expecting the economy to grow less than it previously thought. That means the economic foundation that all of Rachel Reeves' spending plans are built on is weaker than anticipated. That means she's about to announce tax rises that might do absolutely nothing because the growth is not there to fund them. When asked about the prospect of these downgraded forecasts, the Prime Minister's official spokesman said they were not going to get ahead of Wednesday. Wednesday is when the budget gets announced, so for a couple of days nobody knows exactly how bad the news is, but everyone assumes it is going to be terrible. That is the level of confidence people have in this government right now. Downing Street says the welfare system is not fair or sustainable. They say they are delivering reforms to change it, which is political speak for we are going to cut benefits. We are going to make it harder for people who are already struggling to get the support they need because the government needs to balance the books somehow, and they have already alienated the wealthy with their policies. So they are going to go after people on welfare, people who have absolutely nothing left to give. So what does all of this mean? Well, it means Rachel Reeves is in an absolutely impossible position. She is trying to govern a country that has lost all confidence in her ability to do the job. She is about to announce policies that are going to make people's lives harder. She is doing this at a time when people are already cutting back on heating and going into debt just to survive. She is delivering a budget that will raise taxes on the day when the OBR tells her the economy is weaker than she thought. And the public has already decided that pretty much anyone else could do her job better. That is the definition of being politically dead in the water. That is what it looks like when a government loses the confidence of the people, when even their own voters are saying they would rather have the opposition back, when the economic forecasts are being downgraded just as you are about to ask people to pay more in taxes, when 57% of people think the cost of living crisis might never end. That is not just bad politics. That is political catastrophe. And Rachel Reeves preparing to walk into Parliament on Wednesday to announce a budget that nobody is excited about must be absolutely furious, must be absolutely seething that the polling is so bad that her own voters do not believe in her, that voters think a Conservative Chancellor would do better. This is a Chancellor who is about to lose it completely when she realises that no matter what she does in this budget, it will not matter because the public has already made up its mind about her. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one.